Good morning and thank you for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. The Senate Education Committee approved a bill to reroute millions of dollars from public schools to Texas families who prefer private, religious, or homeschool options. The plan would create an education savings account. This would allow parents to draw money from state-funded debit cards to cover the cost of approved expenses. Anna Wernicke explains how much money the state plans on handing over to families and where they can spend it.
Public schools are average. Private schools excel.
Ken Wallace says the decision to enroll his two daughters into a private school was a no-brainer.
It's better, in my opinion, for me as a parent to decide which school is best for my child.
But what isn't easy, Ken says, is the price tag.
They're expensive.
He says Senate Bill 3 would ease the financial burden. The bill gives Texas families a state-funded debit card to spend on things like private school tuition, textbooks, tutoring, and software.
The range within that is really can be troubling,
Monty Exter testified on Tuesday against the bill.
You could pick up a Common Core curriculum, which is in public schools against the law in Texas.
He says the voucher plan provides no accountability.
We're curious whether or not taxpayers realize that that's some of the things that the funding can be spent on.
The only unapproved expenses the bill lists are school supplies like paper and pencils, food, and childcare.
$5 million in general revenue, $12 million to the Foundation School Program.
State Senator Royce West said Tuesday that the money quickly adds up.
You wouldn't consider that significant?
Depending on where families lie on the poverty line, they could receive somewhere from $6,000 to more than $7,000 per year per student.
Even this bill, if it passes, it's not going to cover the full cost of a private school education, but it would definitely help.
Anna Wernicke for State of Texas.
The Senate Education Committee approved the bill by a 7-3 vote. It will now go to the full Senate where it's expected to pass. House members have not yet taken up a corresponding bill. The Legislative Budget Board took a look at the likely cost for the state if Senate Bill 3 becomes law. Depending on how lawmakers choose to pay for the plan, it would hit the state's general fund by between $89 million to $330 million in the first 2 years. Some of the cost comes from adding state workers. The report estimates the state needs close to 50 employees to administer the plan. Texas leaders are fighting to continue the state's pre-kindergarten program after lawmakers in both chambers decided there wasn't enough room in the next budget. The program, established in 2015, gives Texas school districts $118 million per year for pre-K. Business leaders backed Governor Greg Abbott's request to continue the funding over the next 2 years. Instead, budget writers zeroed out the program's funding completely. Advocates say high-quality pre-K is critical for a child's success.
What I see with students coming into our schools each year are varied experiences and strengths. What we are able to do is work with students on their level and work with their families to ensure that they are ready to enter kindergarten on track for success.
Right now, roughly 220,000 children participate in the state's pre-K program daily. Texas also pays for half-day programs for students from low-income and military families. There is data that shows pre-K programs can have long-term impacts on students. The Center for Public Education says 2/3 of pre-K students are ready for kindergarten compared to just 28% of children who do not. And by the time they're in middle school, children who went through pre-K are far more likely to have reached basic achievement. The impact appears to last into the teen years. Studies show children who attend pre-K are more likely to graduate from high school. For perspective, we turn to our roundtable. State Representative Gina Hinojosa, an Austin Democrat who was once the president of the Austin School Board, and Noel Candelaria, who's president of the Texas State Teachers Association. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we were talking about pre-K. It seems like both the House and the Senate, the budgets just don't care about pre-K this year. What's going on?
Well, I think I don't think it's true that we don't care about pre-K. Last session there was a hard push on the House side to put more money into pre-K. Ultimately, a watered down version of what the House wanted went into effect, which was the governor's grants plan. And there was belief by some House members that they went out on a limb for our kids and then didn't get the backing from the governor or the Senate. So we're focused overall this time on funding for schools. And in fact, the House budget has at least $1.5 billion more dedicated to our public schools than the Senate is contemplating. So So currently the Senate's budget doesn't have that money in, which will mean, because of inflation, a per pupil cut for kids if the Senate doesn't lead and invest in our public schools.
And your organization just had this statewide bipartisan poll this week, and it talked a lot about the need for more funding for schools in general.
Right. I mean, the Texas taxpayers overwhelmingly support their neighborhood public schools. And, you know, our polls show that an overwhelming majority of them want the legislature to tap into the $12 billion rainy day fund to fund programs like pre-K and fund, you know, quality neighborhood public schools so that every child benefits from it. And so the challenge that we have with the governor's grant program is that you're putting districts in a position and kids in a position where they're now picking winners and losers, because based on who gets the grant and who doesn't get the grant, when we should really be in a position where we're funding that opportunity of pre-K for every single child across the entire state of Texas. And how do we fund a quality pre-K program, which a lot of our districts already do on their own, but the state could do a much better job of ensuring that every district has that access, so that every child and every parent, you know, in every community across the state of Texas is able to attend a quality pre-K program, but also then transition to the K-12 system, which is woefully underfunded right now. And like I said, I mean, the taxpayers, based on our polling, are showing that they want to fund their neighborhood public schools, and there's $12 billion sitting in the rainy day fund that we believe the legislature should be able to tap into to provide that opportunity for every child.
And certainly the $1.5 billion that the House wants to put toward public education is not there in the Senate. You know, how do you convince senators that the House version is the way to go?
Well, I don't think it's for House members to convince the Senate. I think it's for the Senate's constituents to convince them. And so there are many efforts, statewide efforts underway, where constituents are reaching out to their senators and saying, we expect investment in our public schools, not just pre-K through 12, but also the Senate's budget when it comes to higher ed slashes much of that funding as well. UT alone is looking at an over $40 million cut in this budget, in the Senate's budget, if the Senate's budget remains as is. And so I know that constituencies all over this state are trying to reach out and make sure their senators are aware that this is important to them, and they are engaged on this issue, and they have expectations that we will invest in our schools.
And Texans are also weighing in. We saw from your poll about school choice and vouchers. What are they saying?
Well, I mean, Texans don't support vouchers overwhelmingly. The poll is very clear. But on top of that, they don't support vouchers as the Senate currently just voted out of committee, where there is no accountability. I mean, from the folks that brought us, you know, that pushed accountability through standardized testing and a test-based A through F system, you know, it's the same people that are now pushing out a voucher proposal that has zero accountability for our taxpayers. And so, you know, we want to make sure that there is accountability, first of all, but at a time when we are not fully funding and adequately funding our neighborhood public schools, which is where over 90% of our Texas children attend, we can't be in a position of funding two school systems. You know, we can't be taking from the current system to found a voucher program that has zero accountability, and you know, it leaves, you know, neighborhood schools with less funding already. So, you know, it's something that Texas taxpayers, and including Republican primary voters, are not supporting.
And the House might not support it either, right?
Vouchers? Mm-hmm. It's my hope that the House won't support vouchers. I certainly don't support vouchers, and my sense is there is not the support for vouchers in the House amongst Democrats and many Republicans, many of whom are rural Republicans, for whom their public schools are the center of their community. They are big supporters of their public schools. They don't have a lot of private school, charter schools, school options. So the notion of taking money out of their public schools for these other options that don't exist is a no-win proposal for them. So it is there is bipartisan opposition to a voucher program in Texas.
Well, I appreciate both of you being here today. Certainly got
pleasure.
a little bit longer in the session, so this could go any way, right?
That's right.
It sure could, and so yes.
All right, thank you very much.
My friend, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, my good friend and supporter. We love you.
From the governor's mansion to the Oval Office, why an announcement about jobs brought Greg Abbott to President Trump's desk at the White House. Two state senators get involved in this week's battle over health care in D.C., how they ended up in a meeting with the president. As the battle over health care reform took center stage in the nation's capital, two Texas lawmakers joined the fight. As part of his effort to win support for his plan, President Trump met with a panel of women health care professionals at the White House. Among those attending, Texas State Senators Dawn Buckingham and Donna Campbell. Buckingham, a Lakeway eye doctor, shared her frustrations with the Affordable Care Act.
I see Obamacare as a failed experiment. As a patient, I lost my own health care and my doctor over it. As a doctor, I lost patients both because they couldn't afford the high deductibles or the narrow networks were so narrow they couldn't see the physicians of their choice. And then as a state legislator, we're just here saying, look, don't penalize us for not expanding Medicaid in the first place, but give us that ability to block grant. Let's have patient-centered health care.
Senator Campbell is an ER physician from New Braunfels. She said in a release that she was impressed by the president's genuine concern and desire to improve access to quality health care. But other Texas lawmakers have a different opinion. State Representative Chris Turner worries the plan to get rid of Obamacare could hurt Texas. The Arlington Democrat says if it passes, up to 500,000 Texans could lose their health insurance.
When uninsured folks go to the emergency room because they have nowhere else to go, guess what? We all pay for it. And so that's going to cost every Texan and every American ultimately.
State leaders in Texas decided not to expand Medicaid programs under President Obama's Affordable Care Act. Texas lawmakers pushed two plans designed to control the cost of college tuition, but only one of those plans is getting support from the people who run state universities.
Now, this nation is ready to be the first in space once again.
President Trump touts what he calls success in bringing more American jobs, how Texas could get some of the benefits. Unemployment numbers released Friday show mixed news for the state. The Texas Workforce Commission says the unemployment rate rose up to 5.1%. That's up from 4.9% in January and 4.4% a year before. A big reason for the change, more people looking for work. The number of people working or searching for jobs rose by 100,000 between January and February and nearly 300,000 over a year before. Governor Greg Abbott went to Washington Friday for a big jobs announcement with President Trump. They were joined in the Oval Office by the CEO of Charter Communications. President Trump announced the company is closing its overseas call center and building a new call center in McAllen in the Rio Grande Valley. Charter says it will be their first fully bilingual call center with more than 600 employees.
Texas is #1 in the nation for job creation because of the pro-business climate that we have, because we have the right workforce to take care of the needs of companies like Charter Communications.
Charter says the jobs are high-paying and include pension and health care benefits. NASA's goal of sending a human exploration mission to Mars got a boost from President Trump. The president signed legislation to give NASA more than $19 billion in funding. Texas Senator Ted Cruz co-sponsored the legislation and stood next to the president at the signing. A big chunk of that money will go toward a long-term plan to send humans to Mars.
With this legislation, we support NASA's scientists, engineers, astronauts, and their pursuit of discovery. We support jobs. It's about jobs also.
NASA plans a series of incremental missions over the next decade, building toward a launch sending astronauts to the Red Planet sometime after 2030. The legislation also includes money for programs to track astronauts' health. You have heard the president say this bill is also about jobs, and Texas could see the benefits. A 2015 report showed NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston employed nearly 11,000 people in Texas. The center's budget calls for more than $2 billion of annual spending in Texas. On top of that, NASA contracts brought $90 million to small businesses in Texas and more than $16 million to universities across the state. The space agency also awarded $60 million to nonprofits in the Lone Star State. Lawmakers say tuition for Texas public universities is rising too fast for students and their families to keep up. For years now, each school system has set its own tuition rates. It's been 14 years since lawmakers had a direct say over how much universities could charge for tuition. That could change this year. Chairman of the Senate Higher Education Committee, Kel Seligert, filed several bills to slow the growth in tuition. One that's getting consensus is performance-based tuition, making the state check off any increase in charges. The idea only allows universities to raise their tuition if they hit goals in 6 out of 11 metrics, like graduation rates and low administration costs.
If they're going to increase tuition, something else has got to increase with it. Quality or success on the mission assumed and things like that. Let's don't just keep raising the price for the same product.
The other option lawmakers heard in committee was an outright freeze in tuition, only allowing for inflation. Most university leaders opposed that plan, saying it would hurt schools' ability to excel. The issue of cost and control of tuition rates in Texas goes back several years in the Texas legislature. KXAN political reporter Phil Prazen takes a closer look in a report airing tonight on our sister station, KNBA.
The larger government grows, the smaller the circle of freedom.
2003 was a year for the Republican Party.
It is precisely the wrong time to raise taxes.
For the first time since the 1800s, they controlled every branch of state government.
Ring the bell.
Taking office by promising reform and no new taxes.
That's the government that Texans have voted for.
But in the final days of the legislative session,
Delivering grim news.
they were short billions.
Inefficiencies and duplications.
A handful of people were charged to find a solution.
A very difficult and hard decision for all of us.
They came to an idea left for dead earlier that year and pushed it through as part of last-minute negotiations.
And that we're going to get blamed either way.
It would change every Texas public university and impact every student looking for a higher education in the state.
Any rate, any student, anytime.
This KXAN News special, Cost and Control, airs in its entirety tonight. You can see it on our sister station, KNVA, tonight at 9:30, and also online at KXAN.com. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. Stay tuned for Meet the Press coming up at 9. I'm Josh Hinkle. Have a great day.